Hi, welcome into the Danny Sancomb Show. We're back for another year of Vulcan basketball. It's a nice crisp fall day here in Pennsylvania. You know, it's basketball season. It's crossover season as well. We got a little football happening, and now basketball has come into the fray. We also have swimming here as well, and soccer's wrapping up as well, and it's just time to get back into it. I'd like to welcome in head coach Danny Sancomb for another year of Vulcan basketball.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good, coach. You know, it's just an exciting year to be back. I guess it's a good time to just do a brief recap of what happened last season. You know, so some people that may have not followed along have an idea. Coach Sancomb came in around February to be the new head coach. Was introduced. We had, less than ideal season, I guess you would say. They finished the year 8-19 with a 6-15 record in play. But you really thought the season was going in a decent direction with the young playing pretty much 3-star freshmen to start the season. And a lot of it was due to Jermaine Hall's injury towards in the winter. I mean, they were 5-7 at that point, and you really thought we were. I think I won 3 of our last 4, and we felt really excited about the season. And then he suffered his foot injury, and we, a team that didn't have a whole lot of depth lost some ability there, right, Coach?
For sure. You can't control injuries, but it really gets magnified when you don't have depth. And for a lot of the games last year, the most guys we dressed was 8. And then when you lose Jermaine, who's a starter and, giving you 8 rebounds a game and 13 points a game, and is just an efficient offensive player, you lose that. It really hurt, and we really couldn't recover. We had won 3 straight road games up to that point in the conference, and I felt like we kind of figured some things out. But when he went down, and we had a couple other guys go down, and then all of a sudden you're dressing 6 guys in a game, it made life difficult. But we battled through the year, and we gained some experience, and we're looking forward to being much better this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're talking about, I remember at that time, I think a big win over Edinburgh and a big win over Gannon, and then that was the game we lost Jermaine, but we luckily were out enough and had a good lead. But it kind of got a little hard at that point. But on the bright note, you talked about a guy that came in with you when you came, Brent Pegram, became an all-conference player, first one, and since 2014-15, so great accomplishment there. And then, what would you say were some of the challenges that came with last year, and what can we grow on from that?
Well, I think the biggest thing was our numbers were just not there. Like I said, when you're dressing 7 or 8 guys in a game, you're supposed to be playing 8 or 9 guys usually when you're pretty good. That was a big challenge, and just the lack of size was difficult for us. We weren't very big last year, and when I say that, we were like 6'4", 6'5", and that's very difficult to guard 6'4", 6'5" when you're playing 6'8". Makes life a little bit difficult. So we got beat up on the glass quite a bit. And I just think fatigue. I think we were in pretty good shape, but when you're playing, 5 guys or 6 guys for the entire game, guys just wear down. I thought we played pretty well most of the time through the first half, and I think we played pretty well till about 12 minutes left in the game, and you could see us just running out of gas at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I completely agree with that. I mean, let's transition now. Let's talk about the new season. Let's talk about the off season in general. You came in at a point where, we'd graduated 7 seniors, so the roster obviously wasn't deep as we talked about, and it was important to, this year, obviously, you're a guy that likes depth, like having as many guys on your roster as possible, not only for practicing, but for games as well. So, discuss the recruiting trail this year and how you felt it went for your team.
Yeah, I think we got some good players. If you say the one bad thing is that they're freshmen, but I think we have some talented young guys that will continue to get better and have time to develop. But we've got some guys that can make some plays on our roster. I think last year we really had 3 guys that could make plays, and I think this year, we can put out there 5 guys at a time that can make a play. So I think we'll be a little bit more difficult to guard, and I think defensively, as we get more reps, we'll get better with our rotations. We'll get better at guarding the basketball, and hopefully we can develop into being a very good defensive team as we get through the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watch Danny Sancomb on campus here. I can look out my window. It looks like he's leading a campus tour around sometimes. He got 4 or 5 guys here, all their family. I mean, you think it's student orientation week, but he's just doing his normal job, bringing recruits in, getting them on campus here. Getting them to know what Cal's about and see the campus and everything like that. Would you describe yourself as a coach that likes to deal with younger talent like freshmen, or sometimes we see teams in this league prefer to go a transfer route, maybe get a junior for a 2-year span?
Yeah, I'm much more into trying to build a program, a culture that we have guys for 4 years. It can be frustrating in the early process when you have young guys. I've dealt with this before. I know we have to be patient with them, but I think when those freshmen become juniors, you get excited. You got guys that understand your system. They understand what's expected of them. They understand when you go play games, conference games at opponent's gym, what to expect. And that's what we're working to build here. And I think we have it in place now. And now we just have to really work hard to develop the guys in our program. And then we have to work extremely hard to continue to recruit high-level players. I think our talent level is getting to where it needs to be, where we can be effective and have an opportunity to be very successful in our conference, but we got to continue to develop it. We got to get guys bigger and stronger. When dealing with high school players, that's something that you see. Like, you'll see the ball, they'll bobble the ball a little bit, and you're like, man, just catch the basketball, and you can get a little frustrated at times, but it's just the mature process of getting physically stronger, which will help us as well.
Yeah, talk about building a program and culture. I mean, we'll talk about the roster a little later in the show, but 10 incoming freshmen this season. So, a very young roster again this year after having a pretty young roster again last year. Coach, I mean, I know you're I would say the face of the program. People see you as the head coach. But let's talk briefly about your assistant coach, Steve Bridgman, and Zach Duffy, and what you feel their role is with your team and what they bring.
Well, they bring everything. They do a great job both recruiting first and foremost, but they also do a great job with working with player development, being with the guys, whether the guys need extra work defensively, extra work shooting the basketball. Those guys are really pushing the players in our program and building the right relationship with them too. I think I'm very on top of our guys. I get on guys pretty regularly. I think both of those guys get on guys, but they're also there maybe when I'm on them hard to put their arm around them and say it's going to be okay. Just trust the process. Coach is on you because he expects you to do great things for the program. So they do a lot of those things, and they work extremely hard. They're here all the time, and they've been through it with me. Steve played for me for 3 years at Wheeling, and Zach played with me for 3 years, so they know how our program was there, and I think our program there was built to sustain wins, and they know what it takes to get there, and we're working hard to get these guys to understand what it takes to win at this level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, two guys right there interact with on a daily basis, bring very positive attitudes every day, and a great work ethic that fits well with Coach Sancomb's style. So let's talk about, we had a brief video go up on social media showing a practice with you and the guys, and just previewing the upcoming season. How do you feel the team's looked in practice so far? How do you feel the older guys have looked, and how do you feel how the freshmen have integrated?
I think we're moving in the right direction. I always wanted to move faster than it really is, so I'm not patient with that, with our guys. But I think our guys are working hard, giving great effort at this point of the season. But we've still got a long way to go. When you're young, sometimes you have miscues with plays, which we need to get that together. Sometimes you're a little late on rotations defensively. We've got to get that together. So, and I think it's just, when you're younger, learning to play hard on every single play, rep, whatever you want to call it. So we're really trying to teach that. But I think, from the beginning of school to now, I've seen a big improvement. I think we'll continue to improve. We just have to stay together, continue to work, and do that. Our returning players, I think Brent and Zion are very talented. They give us a formidable backcourt. I think we're really hard to guard at those two positions. I think obviously getting Jermaine Hall back really, really helps us because he can do so many different things, rebounding, scoring, blocking shots. So I feel really, really good about that. I think Phil Alexander, who sat out last year, is an important piece to our team. He's a very tough guard. He can put it on the floor. He shoots the ball solid. He can rebound and mix it up. So I'm expecting some big things from Phil this year as well. And then when we get through that point, now we're talking really about a lot of new guys, faces, to our program. I think, Luke House is somebody that is really translated and made a quick transition from high school to college. He shoots the ball exceptionally well. He makes good decisions when he has the basketball. He rebounds the ball. He's got really good size. So we're really excited about him. Baba, I think really at some point is going to develop and bring our toughness and some energy, but he has the ability to do a lot of different things out there. He rebounds the ball well. He can put the ball on the floor and make things happen. He can block shots, so we're really excited about him. We're just getting Tim Smith back off of an ankle injury. Actually, he hurt both ankles back-to-back, came back from one injury and then hurt his other ankle. So he's been a little bit behind, but he gives us a good versatility. He's got great length. He can block shots. He has the ability to shoot the basketball and stretch it. He can handle the basketball well, can make plays. You know, physically we have to continue to work to get him stronger, but I think he has the ability to become a really good basketball player as well. Then we have, Phil Alston, who we had quite a scare with Phil a month ago, but he's slowly starting to work his way back into things, and he is a ready-to-play defensive player right away. We've still got to develop and work on him offensively, but he can block shots. He rebounds the ball well. He's got great athleticism. So hopefully we can get him back here in the near future as a full go, and he'll help us with that. And then obviously, two other freshmen that we're expecting to be able to help us do some things is Zion. Zion, his ability, 6'4", good athlete, can run the floor, can knock down the shot. And then Tyler really brings a lot of toughness, grit, and does a lot of the little things that we're going to need. And then obviously Jabbar, being our senior, really has the ability to make open shots. So we're going to need contribution from all of those guys to really help us, along with some of our other freshmen that are continuing to develop and hopefully can get into the rotation and make us a little bit deeper. I'd like to be able to play, 9 guys this year and be able to, minimize some of the minutes. Last year we had guys playing 38, 39 minutes a game, and I'd like to see those guys that were playing 39 minutes a game last year cut down to that 32-minute, 33 minutes a game. I think they can be much more effective in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, I think I was looking at the NCAA stats yesterday because we're getting ready to put a preview out for the men's basketball season. I think Brent and Zion combined, I think they were in the top, led the conference in minutes last year, just due to, you're talking somewhere in the range of 37 and a half minutes. You're talking, brief periods of rest, and you can only imagine what they're going to do, with a little more time to rest in certain circumstances to be better. But, Coach, you sound very optimistic about this year, and definitely sounds better talking, you're saying 9 players instead of dealing with a whole roster of 6 or 7, which is what was the circumstance last year. Let's turn into the PSAC preseason poll. I know a lot of coaches, not a big fan of the poll, but sometimes gives you a chance to either to use it as motivation or see where the rest of the league puts you at. As you can see on the screen here, IUP checking in at 1 with 7 first-place votes, followed by Slippery Rock, UPJ, Mercyhurst, and then Cal sitting at 5. Cal, I believe, was 5 last year coming into the year, followed with Gannon, 2 ties with Edinburgh and Seton Hill, and then Clarion. Obviously, a very tough West side. Mercyhurst at 4. I know they're in a situation where they're trying to get players back, but you're talking that's the Atlantic Region champions right there. They upset West Lib last year to win it all, and then IUP obviously the defending PSAC champions. You're looking at a team in IUP that's obviously bringing back one of the best guards in the league in Malik Miller, and then they're also, they're coming off a 30-3 record last year, which is very impressive, and also bringing in 4 Division I transfers. So a very good team. You're looking at Slippery Rock, bringing back Malik Till, obviously a very experienced guard. Just saw in the trib that he's going to be out until December 15th due to transfer ineligibility. But obviously a guy that's going to be back right in conference play and ready to make a run and is an incredible athlete. Huge, tall, everything like that. And then you look at UPJ, I think is one of the more impressive teams in the league. Was one of the younger teams like Danny's was last year, featuring 2 solid freshmen and also bringing back 4 starters from last year. So, Coach, how do you feel your position is, and are you ready? I guess your goal is to get as high as possible.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to the rankings. It's nice, gives a little credibility. We're 5th. We're not happy to be 5th. We don't want to be 5th, obviously, but it is what it is. But you got to go out each and every night, whether it's IUP or Slippery Rock or Pitt Johnstown, who are the top 3. They got to go win basketball games now. So it's nice to have that mark at the beginning of the season, but maybe a little bit of a target on your back as well. We want to look at this year as we want to get better each and every day. And I think if we continue to do that, and we've done that thus far, I think when we get into conference play, January, February, we should be playing good basketball. So that's the hopes of us for us. Obviously, we want to stay healthy, but I think if we stay healthy and we continue to work and keep our mindset where it's been thus far, you're going to see a team playing good basketball in January and February.
Exactly. I mean, and then when you look at the rest of the teams there, I mean, Gannon, new head coach this year, but, you know, a team I've looked at has great size this year, you know, optimism, coach coming from the Division I ranks at Ohio Dominican to bring them along. And then a guy maybe you're not as familiar with, Anthony Coleman's back for Edinboro this year. He's a very experienced guard, you know, one of the better players in the league. Obviously played 4 games last year and then was out for the year, but, you know, some strong player there. And then Seton Hill, obviously under a second-year head coach as well, but, you know, Nate Davis back, a very strong player. I mean, averaged, I think, 19 points last year, and then was an all-conference player. And then Clarion also in a different situation as well. Damon Pitts, the new head coach there, so, you know, they're looking to build a lot there. And then we'll take a brief look at the East Poll. You know, we focus a lot on the West, but let's looking at the East Poll. And obviously East Stroud checking in at number 1 with 4 first-place votes, followed by Shippensburg with 3, Westchester with 1. 1 first-place vote at 3rd there, and then Millersville and Kutztown right there. I mean, East Stroudsburg, a team also that lost a lot, but is looking to build off a lot. They had the freshman of the year, and Ryan Smith last year actually was diagnosed with leukemia, but is slowly recovering. Actually, I heard he was in remission, so that's great to hear. And you know, but a team that has, you know, that might be something that they use as motivation to push them through the season. Is a kid like that. Have you been following with that, Coach?
Absolutely, that's great news too. I didn't know he was cleared of it right now, which is
great.
Yeah,
I think it came out about last week. But he was the freshman of the year last year, so
really good player.
Very, very good player. So, you know, exciting things there. And then you look at Kutztown, Lock Haven, Shepherd, Bloomsburg, and Mansfield closing out there in the East. So, I mean, we'll see some of those schools this year. I mean, it's going to be, you know, we'll see some of those better schools there. I believe we got games against Westchester, a game against Westchester. That's going to be a key matchup as well. And then, you know, it's just going to be an exciting year here. I mean, and then a good friend of yours, Bob Rukavina at UPJ. I mean, he's sitting 15 wins away from 500. I mean,
Wow.
Talk about your relationship with him.
Just a great guy. I mean, one of the nicest guys in the business. I had an opportunity to be in the same league with him from quite some time. But when I was at Wheeling, we would scrimmage them all the time. And he just does things the right way. And I think, you know, kind of where his program is at is kind of where we want to go. I think they had a really good year last year being young. With a lot of high school players, and he always does a good job developing them. Their guys get better year to year, and he always has, you know, solid runs and just does a great job. Really hard to guard. They defend very, very well. I think his teams always really understand their identity and play that way, and they're always a tough team to beat because they usually don't beat themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're talking about a team that's returning Josh Wise, who averaged 19 points last year, and then the PSAC Freshman of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year all won, John Paul Kromka. So he's a very solid player. So they're looking at an exciting year there, and I mean they could be right there at the top 2 with IUP. So it's going to be an exciting year. We're going to take a break here on the Danny Sancomb Show. We'll come back. We're going to look at this season's roster, and we're going to preview the 2 games coming up this weekend against Bowie State and Charleston. We'll be right back.
Colin, what's wrong, man?
I just don't know how my family back home in Millersburg, Pennsylvania can watch our stuff down here.
Well, they could follow us on Twitter, or they could like us on Facebook.
Yeah, but what about our sports? How can they watch those?
They could watch it live on our YouTube channel.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Have you seen the new Cal U Vulcan logo around? Have you wondered where to get gear featuring it? Then go to calvulcans.com and click shop. Log on and browse a full selection of men's shirts, women's shirts, pullovers, hoodies, and more. All items feature customization with the new Cal U Vulcan logo and wordmark. The site also features a full selection of hats, tailgating items, and accessories. Don't be the last person to sport new Cal U Vulcan gear. Go to calvulcans.com today.
Welcome back into the Danny Sancomb Show. I'm your host, Assistant Sports Information Director Alex King, and we're back here with Coach Sancomb here. We briefly discussed it a little earlier, but we're going to get into the returning roster this season and talk about the newcomers a little more for the fans here. So, we're talking about a returning roster of 6 and also bringing in 10 incoming freshmen this year. So, a very, very huge roster compared to last year. And we're talking the return of Jermaine Hall, who averaged, I think he said 12.6 points and 8 rebounds a game. Very strong player, can kind of do it all. He's, you kind of said he was a 3 guard. He can kind of feels good with the ball in his hand. Also feels good, playing underneath the basket. We're going to need some guys down there to grab rebounds. Return of Zion Collins as well, who, maybe outside of, John Paul Kromka and UPJ was probably one of the most prolific freshmen in the year last year. One of my favorite players to watch. Took very, very high percentage looks a lot of the time, like to drive and just, pop it up right in the middle there. And he averaged 16.3 points, which is very impressive for a freshman. And then, we're talking about the return of Brent Pegram, the leader of this team in a lot of people's eyes. Came in, had played mostly off the bench in his freshman year, came in here, became a full-time starter, 18.5 points a game. Great assist numbers, great steal numbers, even though coach's favorite defense, the zone, wasn't his favorite. And then, also the return of Phil Alexander, a name that you probably haven't heard in a while, was one of the upcoming freshmen in the league, missed the entire season last year. So he's back this year as well. Isaiah Salmon's back with the team. He came in about midway, helped coach through a good chunk of the season, played a couple games, and then obviously Jabbar Ray coming in as a transfer, had to sit out last year, and is he back this year? So, a lot of exciting names there, Coach. We talk about the front court there, and Brent Pegram led the team in scoring 12 times last year, led the team in most stats last year, points, assists, steals, 3-pointers, minutes, and then, I thought a very surprising stat, maybe that went underlooked, was that he was ninth in Division II last year with 2.67 steals a game. So talk about his game as a whole.
Yeah, Brent plays extremely hard, and he's really tough. So he's around the ball a lot, and he's got quick hands and has the ability to take the ball away from his opponent. He's a very good offensive player. He does a lot. He can make shots. He can break down. We really need Brent. I think the next part of evolution as a great player is making everybody around you better. We really are going to lean on him to do that this year. He's going to have to make plays for himself. He's going to have to make plays for his teammates, which we think he's more than capable of doing. But we really need him to be solid defensively, to anchor down our defense, to start it down. I'm not a guy that really likes to play a lot of zone, but the circumstances last year made us. We'll play much more man this year than we did last year for sure. But he's really good start. He guards the ball extremely well, and we can put him on different players because he's a little bit smaller, but he can guard bigger guys because of his strength, and he competes. So that's really, really good to have him, not only a good offensive player, but a very good defensive player as well.
Yeah, you talk about, we didn't want to play the zone last year, but circumstances dictated that. But you talk about 2 guys in Brent and Zion who are very athletic and, have motors on them that can play the entire game. Having them face up with somebody on D is going to be very exciting this year, and, it will create less opportunities and probably more turnovers for the team this year. Brent was second in the PSAC with 72 steals last year, and also second with 37.5 minutes last year. As we were updating the record book, Brent finished the season with 499 points. So I'm probably a little bit upset that he didn't get to the 500 mark, but that's 18th in Cal U single season history. So I know he's going to be excited to probably try to break that this year and get a little higher up on the list here at Cal U. And then let's talk a little bit about Zion. Five times leading the team in scoring, 3 times in rebounds. Second on the team in pretty much every category behind Brent, and then 4th in the PSAC with 37.2 minutes. That's a huge number of minutes for a freshman to be bringing on. And, how did you expect that from him, or did you see that coming, and were you happy with it?
Very happy with it, but he's very good, and he's much better this year than he was last year. He's just physically bigger, stronger, really can attack the rim very, very well, and is really good from like 16 feet and in. He shoots the ball extremely well, and his 3-point shooting has developed this year as well. We really need him to build upon what he did last year, which I have all the confidence in the world that he will. We really need him to become an elite defender. He has great length and really at times has the ability maybe to guard two people at once just because he's so quick. And though he's 6'3", his wingspan makes him much bigger than that. And like I said, we need him to score efficiently. And again, we need him to make plays for himself and create open looks for his teammates. And I think that's the next part of evolving as a player is making the guys around you better. And I think last year, the guys that were around aren't as good as the guys that are around this year. So when we get in the lane and somebody overhelps a little bit now, we have to make the right basketball decision, and we got some guys that can knock down shots. But Zion is a special player, and we need him to be an elite player in the league. I feel really comfortable. I think our backcourt with those two, we can match up with almost any backcourt in our conference and in our region, and those two guys can produce against any two other backcourts, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Coach. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Zion Collins as well as pretty much been put on notice in the league. You know, people are going to know his game now. He has a lot of film on him, and he was a 3-time Freshman of the Week last year in our conference, which was the first time that was accomplished since 2008-2009 season. So, you know, a kid that has drawn a lot of attention. You know, people know what he can bring to the table. And I mean, it was a very guard-heavy league last year, but he could have been an all-conference player last year very easily in a better circumstance with, you know, just there was a lot of great talent in the league, but he's going to be right there floating around there towards the end of the year. So let's introduce some of the newer guys. We know we briefly touched on them a little bit, but we'll talk about a couple of guys here. One of the bigger names, Babatunde Ajike, found out how to say his name yesterday, went up and talked to him at practice. He's going to be important, you know, come time on the road. I just want people to know how to say his name correctly. A lot of times here you'll hear him referenced as Baba, but let's talk about him, Camden Catholic kid from Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yeah, Baba, we love. He competes. He can do a lot of different things, and sometimes in the game of basketball, everybody wants guys that can score, which he can do. He really, really can score the ball too, but he does the little things. We need him to be able to defend on the in the interior and on the perimeter, and we need him to rebound the basketball for us this year. And I think he can help us in those areas very, very well. I think he's a great competitor. You know, I had a chance to watch him play a lot in high school last year. We really recruited him hard. I think he's about winning first and foremost, and I think he's going to be a nice blend to our program and really help our toughness and really help us rebounding. Two areas where we struggled a little bit last year. I think he'll be able to help us in those areas quite a bit this year. So we're really excited and looking forward to him. But like I tell him every day, we don't have time for him to be a freshman. We got to have a sophomore mentality this year, and he's working on that and getting to understand how to compete on every play, not to take a play off. So we've stayed on him pretty hard about that, and he's developing. He had a concussion early in the year, so he missed about 3 weeks, and I just feel he's starting to get himself back to where he needs to be for us to be effective.
Yeah, definitely an exciting player. When you look at him as a whole and, you know, read up on him, you know, he's a 4-time all-conference kid, was a conference player of the year, finished 3rd in his school in points, but also accomplished various school records, and comes from a very athletic family. His older sister played at Mount St. Mary's, his brother played at Rider, and he's currently a graduate assistant on the Miami basketball staff. So, you know, a kid that comes from a very big athletic background. Let's talk a little bit, and also brings a lot of size. So let's talk about Tim Smith Jr. You know, another kid, 6'7" kid, very lengthy kid. You know, one of the kids on the court is going to draw a lot of attention.
Yeah, he may be 6'8". I mean, he just keeps growing. He's really long. You know, he's one of those guys that has grown a lot in the last 2.5 years, like 6.5 inches over that period of time. So he has a really good skill set as far as being able to handle the basketball. Still kind of growing into his body at this point in time, but he brings a lot. He shoots the ball really well. If his feet are set, he's going to make shots. He has the ability to make plays for his teammates. I think as he gets stronger, he'll be really able to defend and guard a lot of different positions. You know, he's a pretty good rebounder right now, but again, I think when the strength kicks in, he gets there, he can become very, very good at that. We just got to get Tim, like all of our freshmen, understanding to be able to compete on every single play. But he's really starting to develop into his own, and he's going to really help us this year. We're going to need him to play well this year for us to be effective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see this kid, it's just very lengthy kid. He's going to be able to do it all, big grab rebounds, shoot, everything like that. Another guy here, a local kid from Norristown. Let's talk about Luke House here. A kid that I watched play a little bit in the scrimmage, seemed very comfortable dribbling the ball, playing on the perimeter, and also getting down and underneath the basket and moving without the ball.
Yeah, Luke has made the transition very, very well. He picks up things very, very quickly. He competes, quiet at times, and we're getting him to talk a little bit more on the court. But he really shoots the ball exceptionally well. He's a great passer. He understands position defense, rotations. He's been very, very good at that. He's obviously going to start for us this year. Is going to be very important to the success of our team. He really can stretch the floor, but he's such a good passer. So when guys get open, he delivers the basketball. He moves well without the ball. So we're really excited about Luke. He brings a lot of intangibles to our team. He's got great size. He's every bit of 6'5.5", 210 pounds. To be able to have a guy that size on the perimeter really, really helps when it comes to rebounding. And he comes down and rebounds the ball very, very well. So we're excited about him and think he's going to have a great year for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's tons of names on this list we could go over as well. Just one more name I thought would be, another tall forward. Let's talk about Phil Alston. Obviously, just getting back into practice now after a brief scare. Don't want to touch too much on it, but what do you see his role on this team moving forward once he's kind of back into shape?
He's an elite defender. He really is has unbelievable timing to block shots. He gets off the ground very, very quickly and has great timing. He stays down on the ground and very rarely ever leaves his feet before the offensive player, and he can get up quick enough to block shots, and he rebounds the basketball. I think Phil has an opportunity really to become a really good player at our level and do some very, very good things in our program. He obviously had a scare. He's slowly starting to come back from that, and hopefully he gets fully released here soon. But I think as the season goes on and he starts to pick up things, he's going to be a big-time defensive player for us this year and rebounder, and he can finish at the rim in traffic because he's an elite athlete. So we're excited about him as well.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, it's great to hear about all these upcoming players, and the season sounds very exciting. We'll take a look at the upcoming schedule here for the Vulcans on the screen here. As you can see, they'll be heading to the Shepherd Clarion Hotel Classic to play Bowie State and Charleston this weekend, November 8th and 9th, before they return home for their home opener against Salem on November 13th. So, definitely come out to the Convocation Center, take a look at this new team that Danny Sancomb and the staff has put together. That'll be at 7:30 after the women's game. And then they will be traveling out to Davis and Elkins at 6:30. Might have to make a trip down there, have a lot of friends and family out there in Elkins. And then returning back home to play Lock Haven and Mansfield to open up conference play. So, quite a stretch here to start November. Definitely a chance to come out and see this team, because I know the entire month of December they will be away. So definitely come out to the first couple home games and get a feel for what this team's really going to bring this season. Coach, let's just briefly discuss the Bowie State game coming up here. We'll do a little game preview for it here on Friday, November 8th, 5 p.m. Bowie State, not a familiar team to a lot of Cal people. Last two meetings happened in 2010, 2011. Cal lost in 2011, 84-75 at Bowie, but hosted them in 2010, beat them 92-76. So not a very familiar team. It's been a very long time, and we're talking about 8 years now. But let's talk about a Bowie State team picked first in the CIAA this season. So definitely a team that's very valued. Returns all 5 starters from last season. What are you expecting to see from them? I know you've been watching them on film.
Experience. I think they have 9 seniors on the team. They're ready to go. They're a seasoned team. Obviously, they're picked first in their conference. We need to be ready to play. They have really good size. They really make a concentrated effort to get the ball inside. They make a concentrated effort really to beat teams on the second chance opportunities. They crash the glass hard. They like to play with some tempo. Their guards are good at breaking down. They got a couple guys that can make some shots. So we need to be locked in and focused. I think by scrimmaging who we scrimmaged this year was good, because we scrimmaged some really good teams. I hope that's going to pay off. We're going to need to be ready to compete. We're going to have to take care of the basketball and rebound the basketball to have a chance to beat Bowie on Friday.
And I mean, no joke, you're talking about a team that went 17-13 last year, which might be a little deceiving, but they went 12-5 in conference, so very strong down the stretch. Ended up getting knocked out in the quarterfinals of their tournament, saw the end of their season there. But as I viewed some of the strengths of their team, as we said, size, a great offensive rebounding team, great blocking team, great rebounding team. So a team that's not going to give you a lot of second chances. But maybe, as I saw some of their weakness last year, not the best shooting team, and turned it over a little bit, not a big three-point shooting team. So it seems like a team that's going to want to work it down low and probably look for a lot of second chance baskets with rebounding.
For sure, that's what they're going to do. They have 3 guys inside. They have a transfer. That's a very good player, but they got 2 returning guys inside that really demand the ball inside and post up hard and have the ability to finish and are really good from 5 feet and in. So we're really going to have to do a good job pushing them out a little bit further, not letting them get point-blank layups, and surely not giving them second and third chance opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I looked up their roster. I think a player to watch is Squan Jamison, a forward. He's 6'8", he's a senior. Averaged 9.7 points last year, 11.1 rebounds last year, played all 30 games for the team. Fun fact, he went to the same high school as Brent Pegram, so a guy that probably Brent's pretty familiar with from his area and everything like that. So definitely a kid that's going to draw a lot of attention, and was picked in the preseason all-conference team. So definitely, it's going to be quite a test for the Vulcans. Talk about a big regional game to start the season. Not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. And then we'll briefly touch on Charleston here, doing a little preview on them since it's right after the game, right after. So quick recovery for the team, playing at 4 p.m. against Charleston at the Clearing Hotel Classic. Last time we played Charleston was actually in the same Hotel Classic as well. Fell 65-55 in 2013, so it's been a while. A team, honestly, you're a little more familiar with from your time coaching. It's picked second in the MEC this year, so very high praise for a team. And they're returning 4 starters, and 3 of them were all MEC last year. So what are you expecting to see?
They're good. Second in that league says a lot. But we need to be ready. I think those 2 games are good. What we're trying to work for is being ready for Lock Haven when we get into conference play. So playing opponents like this will hopefully going to get better. I truly do believe by playing great competition, it makes you a better basketball team. Though we're young, we need to go out there and compete Friday and Saturday and do the things that we do well. And if we're able to do the things we do well, we'll have an opportunity to beat anybody. But we have to stay within ourselves and understand what we do well and do it for 40 minutes. Can't do it for 35 against really good teams. Can't do it for 38 minutes. We need to do it for 40 minutes. And I think when the weekend's over, we'll look back and know we're moving in the right direction. I think that's really, really important. I think our guys will be ready to compete. But Charleston, they shoot the ball with the Rackley kid. He's a very good scorer. And then McManus inside is very, very good. So those 2 guys are elite Division II players, and we need to be ready to try to slow those guys down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Drew Lackley was one of my players to watch in this game. A first-team All-MEC player last year, averaged 19.9 points a game, so quite a sharp shooter for that kid. Also, great from three-point range, 37.5%, and great from the field at 45.8. But a team that finds a lot of its strengths in taking high percentage looks, ranks second in all of NCAA Division II last year in field goal percentage, so a great shooting team. Also top in the conference in blocks and didn't turn over the ball a whole lot. But, for a team that likes to shoot probably a little bit from range, some of their weaknesses last year were rebounding, offensive rebounding, and three-point defense. So it seems like a team that might give you wants to give you more looks from the outside maybe and, try to limit the inside looks.
Yeah, they play a lot of zones, so, they're going to give up some threes at times. So that's probably why that's high. But they get after it, well-coached team, and they know who they are. They understand their identity, and that's why they're effective offensively. That's why they shot such a high percentage, because guys understood what they did well, and the coach put them in good positions where they could be successful.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll just take a brief look at the upcoming schedule one more time here so people understand what the matchups are for the Vulcans moving forward here as we look ahead. And there it is right there, Bowie State on November 8th, just a couple days away, 5 p.m. in Shepherdstown. If you want to make the trip out to see this Vulcan team a little early, you can. Definitely could use your support out there. Then November 9th against Charleston the day after at 4 p.m. Returning home for their home opener against Salem at 7:30. Great chance to see this team match up. And then back on the road against Davis and Elkins, and then back home again here against Lock Haven and Mansfield. CUTV on the coverage for both. WCAL also on the coverage. So if you can't make it out, you're a little further away, definitely watch. But we definitely appreciate your, you coming out to the Convocation Center cheering on this team. They're definitely going to need it this season. It's definitely going to be an exciting year for them. That will wrap up today's Danny Sancomb Show. Be sure to follow us at Cal Vulcans, and follow the men's basketball team at CalU_MBB on Twitter. And, keep up with all the action this season. It's going to be a very big weekend for Vulcan Athletics. I believe 9 teams in action this week. So a lot of stories coming up on Saturday, a lot of coverage for new sports. The winter is here, kicking off here with the women's basketball and men's basketball teams kicking off this weekend. So it's going to be an exciting year, and we're going to get ready to go here. And we'll see you next time here on the Danny Sancomb Show. Have a good day.